This first word here has a combination UR. Curious. Curious also has a vowel, consonant, vowel pattern there. We'll talk more about this word in a minute and its meaning. This word is also in your stories this week, and we want you to be able to not only read it, but to understand what it means. This word has a vowel, consonant, consonant, vowel. We divide those syllables, that pattern between the two consonants, and the word is distance, distance. The C sounds like an S because it's a cedilla C followed by an E. Earth resources, you can see that's got a suffix S, it's plural. A capital E because it's a proper noun, the name of our planet, Earth resources. Enormous is the next word. It's got combination OR in there, enormous. Up here is the word gently. I know it's gently because it's got a G followed by an E, so it's a soft G like giraffe. All right, gently. Now, gently has an ly at the end, but gently does not have an ly suffix. It just happens to end with an L and a Y. The reason I know that is because if you take away the L and the Y, it leaves G-E-N-T, gent, and that is not a word on its own. So that is not a suffix ly. However, this next word that has a diphthong in the middle, in the medial position, that says ow, is proudly. Proudly has a suffix ly, and I know it's a suffix in this word because it's got a base word, proud. If you take away the suffix, you have a word left over, and it's the word proud. This next word has a sneaky E, and it is also a suffix, ly. The word is rarely. Rarely has the base word rare if you take away the ly, so that's how I know it's a suffix in this word. Next is the word supply. Supply ends in an ly, but if you take away the ly, it does not have a word left over, so it just happens to end in ly. It's not a suffix for this word. Suffix ly usually means in a way. So if it's proudly, you're doing something in a proud way. If it's rarely, for example, if it's rarely rains in the desert, it's in a rare way. It doesn't happen very often. So let's go ahead and take a closer look at these vocabulary words. Here is curious. I am curious to find out what is in the box. Curious means to wonder about something. He's curious about the package.
Curious. If you are curious about something, you want to learn more about it.
And here's the definition. If you are curious about something, you want to learn more about it, just like the video said. For example, I am curious to find out what is in the box. Next, you'll see the word distance. Distance has a cedilla C. Distance means if you see something from a distance, you see it from far away. For example, Lily waved from a distance, but her friend did not see her. So between her and the boat is a lot of distance from far away. Here's your next word, earth resources. Earth resources are things found in nature that people can use. For example, water and trees are important earth resources, and here's a picture of that. We use water for many things. We can use water for energy. We can use water to drink. We use trees for oxygen to beautify our earth, to build things. They're all Earth's resources. It's the opposite of man-made materials. Our next vocabulary word is enormous. Something that is enormous is very large in size or amount. You can have an enormous amount of something as well. Here's an example. The bird looked tiny on top of the enormous rhinoceros.
Enormous. Something that is enormous is very large in size or amount.
All right. And here's our next vocabulary word, and it's gently. If you do something gently, you do it carefully or lightly. For example, you'll see here the girls gently patted the puppy at the shelter. It's a tiny little puppy and they didn't want to scare it, so they're going to pat it gently.
Gently. If you do something gently, you do it carefully or lightly.
All right, here's the next vocabulary word: proudly, in a proud way, suffix ly. The definition is if you do something proudly, you do it in a way that shows you are pleased with what you have done. Here's an example. Julia smiled proudly when she finished her painting. I know that Mrs. Roush loves to see your art projects, and a lot of you are doing crafts and projects at home. And when you show your family or your teacher when you're in school, you are very proud. So you show us in a proud way, which is proudly. And here's another word with suffix ly: rarely. If something rarely happens rarely, it does not happen often. For example, it rarely rains in the dry desert. It rains in the desert, but it doesn't happen very often, so it's rarely. And here is another vocabulary word. This is supply. You guys all took your supply boxes home to make sure you had everything you needed for your work at home. The definition of supply is if you have a supply of something, you have an amount of that thing to use. For example, you've got crayons and markers. You have a supply of them. You have them to use. The teacher has a supply of colored pencils for the class. And we're back at curious. So these are your vocabulary words for the week. Let's say them together. Ready, go. Curious, distance, earth resources, enormous, gently, proudly, rarely, and supply. A couple of these have suffixes: suffix s, which means plural, suffix ly, which means in a way. We have a cedilla C here and a soft G there. So there's plenty of phonics rules that will help you with these words, and I hope you're able to read them successfully and understand what they mean in the story this week. Thanks, guys. Study these words as much as you can.